Hello, KHM agents. Welcome to KHM Today, our second episode. I am your host, Carolyn Orff, and today is January 13th, 2021. Let's get right to the headlines with Chantel. Chantel, welcome.
Do 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 do. Are we unmuting her, Des?
Okay, I'm very sorry I was muted. Hello, everybody. I'm not going to ask how you're doing today. I already have a feeling I know, but let's get to today's headlines. In the headlines, as we have all heard and know from last evening, the CDC expands negative COVID-19 test requirements to all passengers entering the United States. Disney's Magical Express will be ending in 2022, if you haven't already heard. Starting this year, July 16th, guests will have to get their own bags from the baggage claim to take them to the bus. Once you get to the resort, there will be baggage handlers there. And then upon departure, guests will have to get their own bags from their hotel room down to the bus. Great news for AM Resorts. Opening June 2021, a new Secrets and Dreams Bahia Mita Surf and Spa Resort. And this is going to be located in Nayarit near Punta de Mita on Banderas Bay. And as we all know and have heard this week, Disney, Royal Caribbean, and Celebrity have also extended their suspension of sailings. Disney is through March of 2021, and Royal Caribbean and Celebrity are through April 30th of 2021. And with that being said, I want to end on a lighter note. I don't know about you, but I think I've gotten all of my Christmas cards delivered this week from the post office, as well as some sympathy cards for the passing of my father-in-law back in early December. Back to you, Carolyn.
Thanks, Chantel, for keeping us updated. Agents, we know the CDC is on the forefront of your mind, and we are going to address that during the show. First, it is my pleasure to welcome Bill Coyle, Director of Education and Programs at KHM Travel Group, to the conversation, along with our industry expert, Colette Barus, Senior Vice President of Global Commerce and Distribution for AM Resorts Americas. Do we have Colette on here on the screen? She's coming. So Colette has over 20 years of international product and marketing experience and is responsible for the global sales strategy for AM Resorts. Thank you both for being here.
Absolute pleasure. So happy to be part of this.
Thanks a lot, Carolyn, and thanks, Colette. Really appreciate having you. And Carolyn, thanks for having me. Excited about our topic today. It's just going to be amazing to share a lot of the great information with our agents.
Yeah, and so we know, I feel like I've been digging on the internet today. Bill, I know you've been on the phone. Colette, you've been on the phone, as you mentioned before we started the show today. Bill had the pleasure of hearing you a few months ago at the AM Resorts Agent Awards dinner down in Mexico, and was raving about all the statistics you had. And then I had the pleasure of seeing you at a totally different event. And I kept texting him saying, I think this is what you were saying. This is who you were raving about. Is this the lady? Is this the lady? And immediately we said, we have to get her on to speak with our agents because this information is invaluable and maybe even more timely than we could have ever imagined for the latest news. So thank you for being here. We are excited for your presentation, market strategies, and we're excited that you were open to the last minute idea of a pivot, which is our favorite word this year, to address the latest CDC order as it applies to the industry. So I am going to go ahead and hand it over to you so that you can speak to our agents about market intelligence.
Perfect. Very good. So thanks so much, Carolyn, and thanks, Bill. As I had shared before, I'm really excited to be here, and thank you so much for the invitation. So, before we get into the deck, I thought what would be helpful to share with the audience today is two sentences to start off with. The first thing is, don't be afraid by the announcement that was given today. I know that there is a lot of confusion about what are the next steps, how do we implement it, what do I need to tell my passengers? But what I can tell you is that in the research that we have done, that the requirements that are being asked for by the CDC are actually less stringent than the requirements that are coming from other markets. So hotel organizations and destination governments are in the process of determining what is the easiest, simplest protocol with the cleanest logistics to be able to communicate to customers. So give it a day or two for the information to settle. The kind of work that is being done right now is, what are the supply materials for testing that are available from an inventory perspective? What types of materials need to be shipped in, as well as the number of doctors and nurses that are available in order to actually audit the tests and supply the appropriate paperwork. So, and on a learning curve, if you will, a PCR test policy was instituted in Canada that became effective of January 7th of last week, and there's been an enormous amount of learnings that have come from that, even simplistic things about the paperwork and being assured that birth dates are on there that matches the passports. So don't worry, give the industry a day or two to figure it out. I actually think that this is a positive thing because it's going to eliminate a lot of confusion for the customer and will become very similar to something that ends up on your checklist of things to do when you're packing your bag and your bathing suit and the rest of those things. And I know that there is a travel bubble that is coming, and that's what we're going to talk about today. So fear not, just give it a little bit of time. I told Carolyn, we were communicating last night. Yesterday I was feeling optimistic, and today I'm feeling even more optimistic by the way that this has developed. So just sit tight. It's going to get easier, I promise.
Awesome.
Great. Okay, so as Carolyn had shared, my background is I'm now 9 years with AM Resorts as the Senior Vice President for Global Commerce and Distribution. But one of the things that you might not know is that I spent many years on the tour operation side of the business as well. I actually started off my career as a sales manager for a resort company outside of Barcelona, Spain. And then when I came back to the United States, I actually worked for GoGo Worldwide Vacations, Liberty Travel, who was then purchased by Flight Center. So I have a lot of good knowledge regarding tour operator relationships, travel agent relationships, and what necessities might be, particularly when it comes to growing and developing your business. And so that's what I'm hoping to share with you today. Great. So you heard me make reference to this before. What we're going to talk about is planning for the wave. And so, Carolyn, you could just click through. To you a little bit about how agency importance to the airlines is changing, what's happening with consumer sentiment and behavior, and the dream equation about having time and money, which is what everybody always hopes for. And then the last thing, 8 tips that you guys can utilize in planning for success for the future. So let's get rolling. Okay, so one of the things that I think is really important is the relationship between distribution, which includes, the agency community, travel advisors, and anybody else that is supplying product, is that leisure is now tops. So in previous days, of course, corporate travel was the most important source of revenue that many of the airlines had. And because of what is happening with COVID-19, there's massive declines in corporate revenue. So what is being recognized now by our airline partners is that leisure is a lucrative channel, and they also too have an expectation of pent-up demand. So the airline's new view is that a leisure seat is no longer a discounted seat, that leisure travel passengers are also being recognized as a source of ancillary revenue, whether it's bags or upgrades or meal service and flight, and they're looking to create enhanced services to their loyal customers. They're also looking at utilizing branded credit card revenue with customers that are utilizing an airline branded credit card to be able to pay for other things, and putting this all together with an investment in technology. Now, why this is important to you guys is that what you're going to see is more flexibility on policies for the leisure travel passenger. There are major airlines in the industry today that are reviewing their relationship with the travel agency community and bringing things back to the table that had gone away, like airline commissions, like benefits, so on and so forth. So if in the past you haven't had an ongoing or continual relationship with your airline partner or your airline tour operator partner, I would suggest that you get into the hands of doing that now, because most of the airlines and most of their business development managers have very, very specific initiatives on driving that business. And that's something that you can use to your advantage. Also for waivers and favors, if you need an exception or something along that line. So the tables have turned back around again, which is an interesting thing to see.
That is so, everything that you're saying there, Colette, is so important and so critical. I remember when I served on Delta Vacations Advisory Board, Delta Airlines recognized the leisure market fast, and like they were so willing to upgrade those the aircrafts and make sure and put bigger aircrafts in leisure markets. And the fact that I'll tie in your resort chain really fast, is growing at such a rapid pace in those destinations that are key to those markets. I see it really hitting the leisure market very, very largely.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And now the other thing about it also too, which is interesting, and some of you guys might not be aware of this, because there is such a reduction in demand for long haul flights to Europe, what they're doing is, instead of putting on multiple airplanes to the same route, let's say any city in the Northeast to Cancun, just as an example, could be Boston, it could be New York, and any other points in the US, rather than putting on 2 flights, what they're doing is they're utilizing European aircraft to fly those routes, because there's a higher seat capacity. So when you go in and you look at what you're booking, check the aircraft model, because when you're looking to upgrade a passenger to a business class seat, it could be a long haul, fully flat first class seat with a private television and all of the services associated to it. So you're providing even an additional service by knowing the type of aircraft.
Yeah, I know some agents have said it. I know Rachel said it, but my flight from Atlanta to Cancun was a lay down bed. I'm like, this is unbelievable. It was very cool.
Yeah, it's great. Great. Totally different experience, right?
Yes.
All right, so we'll talk a little bit about consumer sentiment and behavior. The magic equation that we all hear is, gee, I would travel more if I had more time and I had more money. Well, guess what? We have a lot of passengers that will have a lot more time and a lot more money. And I'm going to share with you some of the statistics that we're seeing that lead to what this definition of the travel bubble will be. So, most importantly, MMGY, which is one of the biggest data sources in the travel industry, published in their December report the interrelationship between leisure and corporate travel. And so this is what we've started to see. There is an encouraging improvement in travel intentions during the next 6 months, meaning individuals that are saying, okay, I'm ready to go. When that is subdivided, domestic leisure interest for a trip in the next 6 months remains steady. So 41%, which was great, because the number had actually declined in November by 6 points. So now we're in steady state in that regard. And then the next bullet point here shows that domestic business trip interest increased for the next 6 months by 4 points, from 34 to 38%. So you can see on both sides of the equation there is that desire, but it's the next couple of bullets that are really, really interesting. Only 1 in 4 business travelers is likely to attend an offsite business meeting. So it's a very, very low number. And when you think about the number of individuals that you are booking leisure travel for, that also travel for business, now these customers are pent up on both sides of the equation. They're not traveling for work and they haven't been able to travel personally. So the end result are the next two statistics, which are really great. The percentage likely to take an international flight during the next 6 months rose 4 points, up to 25% from 21. But this is the one that really shows that there is a bubble coming. And that is, this is the highest increased percentage month over month observed to date since the onset of COVID. So that gives you a good perspective.
I feel like I need to sit there for a minute and absorb.
Yeah. Well, that highlighted one is very important.
Yeah, it's very important. It's very important. So at the same time that we have all of this happening with respect to travel, let's talk about the component that has to do with money, right? That part of the dream that's associated to money. So what's really important here is that the savings rate is that it's at the highest that it has ever been in the US. The April savings rate, meaning percent to disposable income saved, was 32.2% in April versus 12.7 in March, right? In June, it was still at 19%, which is 6 points higher than what it had been in the month of March. And at the same time, consumer spending has dropped. So with people working from home, not having to commute, they're not buying gasoline, maybe they have reductions in insurance, they're not going out to eat or going out to lunch or what have you. So there's savings that is becoming inherent in that. And that's a pretty big number. Even if you're talking about 6% additional savings, that's very, very easily going to add up to at least one vacation, depending on the way that they're choosing to spend it or the destination they want to go. So there's that portion of the money. But the next area is also really interesting too, is that people are investing disposable income in their homes, right? So as they're staying home, they're looking around and all of a sudden these projects are becoming, okay, that's more of a priority. Let's do something a little bit different. There's two results from this, and that is that real estate is now at a premium pricing. As people are moving and they're moving away from major cities, we're seeing two things, and that is that real estate inventory is at its lowest point ever from an availability perspective, and that is creating pricing wars. Homes are selling very, very quickly. As homes are selling very, very quickly, people who were considering downsizing or who have had a change in life because their kids have moved out, gone to school, gotten married, etc., are realizing that now is the moment that they will be able to make the most amount of money on their homes versus what they had originally paid. So we're seeing a lot of people now that are selling and they're putting that money in the bank. Right? A lot of people were keeping the family home. Now with the demand and the prices that are out there that they can get, they're choosing to take it instead and putting that money in the bank. So those are two interrelated things with the way that money is accumulating today. The other thing that's interesting too is that consumers are getting a little bored, right? They want to shop, they want to spend money on things. So we have two things. I thought this was very interesting to share. You know, Black Friday and Cyber Monday are really good metrics when it comes to retail spending. And in fact, it's called Black Friday because in the old days, the day after Thanksgiving was the day that most department stores would actually turn from being in the red to being in the black because of the amount of money that had been spent. So this past Black Friday, there were $9 trillion in sales. It was up 22% versus 2019, which was an online sales record. But here's the kicker, which is really, really interesting. When you look at Cyber Monday was also $9.4 billion spent, up also about 20%. And this is very interesting. Between 10 p.m. and 2 a.m., consumers spent 1/3 of the day's total revenue. So that gives you an opportunity to think about how consumers are behaving differently inside their own homes, how they're shopping, what they're buying, and what they're dreaming about, right? And travel obviously sits in the dream category as well. So they're also spending more, which is very interesting. And the percentage in their shopping cart was 6% higher than what it had been last year. The same will apply to travel, and we're going to talk a little bit about how you can leverage that. The other thing also too is at the same time, right, this relationship of what people are spending money on, look at where the stock market is trading, right? We hit 31,000 and change yesterday, which is the highest that it's been, even with the instability. You've got people that are looking at what they have in their investment accounts or the planning that they had for retirement, and there's more money available for them than there had been before. So all of a sudden, there's more liquidity than had been available before, which means for a lot of folks, it's an opportunity to take a dream trip. And we'll talk a little bit about how to sell that too.
So in my mind, what this means for me is that if someone's sitting on their couch, Googling for printers or computers or new socks or whatever, eventually that mentality is going to shift to travel. So as an agent, I would be thinking, okay, how can I be their cyber whatever day and get in front of the situation? What can I be doing to send them options before they even start looking at them?
Absolutely.
That's a great point, Carolyn. And the fact that you look at that 10 p.m. to 2 a.m., that really stuck out to me as something that's very critical for our agents to understand.
Mhm.
Consumer
Okay.
behavior is changing, right? Being at home, working from home, the way that people are looking and shopping for things, it's a great opportunity to try new marketing initiatives and think out of the box because folks are looking at things from a different perspective.
Right. And that 10 p.m. time is when the spouse went to bed and left the credit card on the kitchen table. And you're just
That's right.
grabbing it and saying, oh, yeah, I know that he or she wanted a trip.
That's right. So you've got to make every deal that you have out there, you've got to say, okay, we have a special offer, but it expires at 1 a.m. so you can at least get the deposit. Right.
Create the demand. I agree with you. I love
Yep.
that.
For sure.
Well, I really like what you just said about giving a time frame. It's a special offer. Need it
Yes.
now.
Yes.
Oh, I love that idea.
That's right. That's right. So this is interesting also too, associated to pent up demand, right? So consumer sentiment, right? We've never been told that we can't go someplace, right? It's always been us who has stopped ourselves. We don't have the time, we don't have the money, the kid's schedule doesn't allow it, so on and so forth. As soon as you take something away from someone is exactly when they want the capability to do that. So I encourage you also too to think about if you have folks that have only traveled domestically, but have expressed interest in traveling internationally, now is the time that you should begin encouraging them to apply for a passport. Because they don't have one now doesn't mean that they haven't realized that they've got limitations currently, and all of a sudden the things that they would do one day should be something that they should do now. So get in front of that with them and say, you know, if you have an opportunity to travel in the future, make sure everything is up to date. For folks that don't have passports, but additionally have your customers check their passport validity dates now for those who do have them to make sure that there isn't an expiration. Because, you know, those poor passports are sitting in the drawer and they're a little bit dusty. So we've got to bring them out and get them some fresh air and make sure that they're ready to go. So in the same vein also too with some of these other ones, you know, again, that stress of confinement and staring at the small screen. Plus the other thing too is we've all had a lot of major life events that have been delayed, whether it is a destination wedding. You know, brides are frustrated. They wanted their formal wedding. What we've seen also too in many situations is that wedding dates have had to be delayed multiple times, and many of them were converted to a civil ceremony or something much, much smaller. So if you did have a guest that had a destination wedding and decided to get married domestically instead, call them and propose that they do a wedding party where they get everyone together that was going to come to the wedding, and they pick a destination and pick a hotel and they celebrate together. We're starting to see inquiry of that type because people do want to be together. So there's ways to invent new business opportunities out of that. The other thing also too, which is interesting, the flip side to this is, have we had too much time together? The divorce rate since COVID is up 34% in the United States versus same time period last year. And interestingly enough, 20% are newlyweds versus 11% last year. So that number's got up also too. So there are two things to bear in mind. So the divorce rate has continued to rise, which means that in 22 and at 23, we're likely to see an uptick in requests for second weddings. Not necessarily that they'd be getting married in 22 and 23, but we're likely to see that. And then in the meantime also too, what you will be seeing are options for girls getaway, guys getaways, and actually even divorce parties. There are lots of packages that are available out there that you don't have to build them. AM Resorts, as an example, has a girls getaway package that includes a flat price that can be subdivided against all of the attendees. They're given private restaurant reservations, a private cocktail party in their room, a private concierge, a separate area on the beach with a cooler, with drinks, everything that they have. And all of that is commissionable. So you don't need to do the footwork of putting it all together. You can go onto our website and look to see what's there and offer it, because it's extremely affordable. Sometimes it comes out to $40 or $50 a person, depending on what they're looking for, but all the planning is done and we take care of the details on property. So that's another way to look at one of these trends and convert it to something that could be a business opportunity. Great, thank you. The other thing also too is the bucket list, right? So here we go. A lot of folks have a list of things on their bucket list, you know, places that they would like to go. I put the note on here about making it earlier because we're seeing a couple of different things. voluntary leave of absence and early retirement have come in earlier in a lot of industries, particularly our industry. There's been a lot of changes, there's been a lot of furloughs, layoffs, and so on and so forth. So there are a lot of people out there that all of a sudden are retiring earlier than they thought that they would be, right? So we know that there are cruises that have been canceled. It was mentioned earlier on this call, and also fleet and itinerary reductions. So people are looking for options. Hone up on your land and your hotel skills. Get to know a couple of partners that you really have a lot of faith and confidence in booking, and make them your go-to list so that you've got a pick list available all of the time of offers that are out there. Every intelligent hotel company out there is coming up with different ideas for promotions as well as flexibility to allow convenience. Like, for example, AM Resorts has a 24-hour cancel policy. So the customer can cancel up until the last minute if there is an issue or a family concern or what have you, but it still allows you to make that booking without an obligation, right? So as we go through the next couple of bullets that are on here as well too, you know, restrictions being lifted in 2021 and the changes in the policies like the ones that were announced yesterday are going to create this surge. What will happen is short haul will be the winner. So for the balance of 2021, what you guys will most likely see are that individuals will be interested in going to destinations that are 5 hours or less. They won't necessarily want to go further in case they need to get home, in case there's any issues. What you'll also be seeing too is all of these holidays that we've had to celebrate away from each other, Thanksgiving, Hanukkah, Christmas, all of these wonderful traditions are going to also create a surge in family reunions. So start looking for that. When the weather gets better and all of these administrative details have been worked out, there's going to be a lot of opportunity. In that regard too, if you do have existing groups on the books, call them back and ask them if there's more people that perhaps would be willing to participate that had declined originally. Have them go back to their original group and invite other attendees, and also look for opportunities for smaller groups, maybe 6, 10, 15 people, something along that line of individuals that maybe are in a bubble, including in a neighborhood bubble, that just want to get away and feel comfortable with the individuals that would be part of that.
We've learned a lot about each other, Colette, haven't we? In our bubbles, right? Like, can I travel with that person? Am I willing to travel with that person?
Right.
That person may have been someone I never thought about traveling with, but I think that I can because we've been standing on the sidewalk drinking beer together for the last 6 months. So
You're
there's
absolutely
just
right.
so many. I love the key that you have here is the word opportunities. There's so many opportunities. I'll never forget my first divorce trip. I was like, this lady is sitting in front of me telling she got divorced. She's taking all these other gals with her on this trip. And I thought, this is a market, right? There's the idea.
Absolutely.
And when you think about the amount of deaths that we've succumbed to in this year that we've had to deal with, I mean, there's going to be people that are just because of death is going to want to get away. They're going to need to travel with their families or get away because they haven't seen each other. Family reunions, you're absolutely right, is going to be the hit for booking for coming up in the next 6 to 8 months.
Yep, absolutely. Absolutely.
I also
Okay,
love
so
the idea of presenting, you know, passing it off and saying, here's what I have for you, and here's
Yes.
the price. Doing that with a lot of those in the retirement community. Sometimes they have a bucket list, but they don't really know what's possible. So to put
That's
it
right.
together and say, here's what I can do for you. Did you know you could do this? This is pricing for 2022, 2023. Let's get this on the books.
That's right.
You know, if the more you can spoon feed, I feel like people are like, oh, that's a possibility. Let's do it. So I love that word opportunity. Be creative with this.
And the timing is perfect, right? Where in the past it would have been, okay, what, you know, are you planning on booking travel this year? I think we as an industry begin to make the assumption in the way that we communicate that people want to travel. So it's not, what are you planning? It's when are you planning? And these are some ideas I have for you. And folks will want that. Folks will want somebody to encourage them to plan and to dream what their next journeys are going to be. It's optimism. It's all about optimism of getting out of the house, right? So, okay. So here we go. This is a really interesting one also too. I've had some fun doing the research around this. So the PTO bomb and being ready for action. The PTO bomb is the paid time off bomb. And MMGY, which you had heard me reference before, has talked about these 4 phases of consumer mentality. You know, the first one has been fear. That's what we struggled with last year, trying to figure out not just the fear of travel, but also the fear of having your children at home for homeschooling for multiple months and the changes in your life. Now we're at this point where we've made it through almost a full year, so we have an understanding around how things are working, and it's creating action, which is precisely what we had seen yesterday. As governments start to take actions, as they start to put guidelines and protocols around things, that's going to lead us to recovery. Now, what's really interesting about this too, if we click through the next bullet, is that during these 4 phases, what has happened is that we have determined there's resilient travelers. Those are the folks that have traveled anyway. They found a way to sneak out and to go. But there is also this PTO bomb. So if we click through these next bullets here, what I want to share with you is that on average, employees have taken 25 to 30% less time off than in previous years. What that means then is that companies are sitting with a responsibility, a financial responsibility for time that would have to be paid out if the individual left the company, right? They pay off your vacation time when you leave. So it's sitting on the company's profit and loss statements as a responsibility item. So what is going to happen is employers are going to encourage employees to take more time off, and they're going to begin requesting it at different times of the year. So what you had seen as a traditional vacation curve will be completely different, because everyone has discovered that they can work from home. If they can work from home, they can work from destination, they can work from somewhere else. And so the schedule will end up changing. Employers will have to get this off of their books because of the impact on operating cash flow. So they're going to encourage employees to take that. I also think in the same regard that if you normally had a couple that would take a 4-nighter, for example, they might be taking 5 or 6 because they've got to get through that vacation bank. So don't be afraid to ask them if they have the capability to extend for an additional night or 2. And then the flip side to this is for companies that don't have the ability to give the time off because they have reduced staffing, they're going to be buying the time out, which takes us back again to employees having more disposable income. And that creates some upsell opportunities. This one's a real one.
Let's go one step further and just say that if they're asking or requesting a 4 or 5 night package, let's just say that we took the liberty of including a 6 or 7 night package. Or if they're asking for 3, let's give 4 and 5 and 6. Just send those itineraries right there. They're going to see the difference in the price is not worth the idea to give up that PTO.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So what are some of the things that we can do as action items as we leverage all of these consumer trends that we're seeing? So plan now for success. So staff up. You know, if you're in an office that you have the capability to bring additional people in, that's great, because you're going to have some administrative work that's going to be coming through, and you should be chasing those leads now. Start to do that footwork now, because it is going to come, and you want to reserve space where you can. If you are an independent consultant, this is also an opportunity for you to look for folks that maybe want to assist, or you can provide an internship in the travel industry for them becoming your assistant to help with administrative work. This particular pandemic that we have had has caused a lot of people to rethink about what they're doing and what they want to be doing. And there's a lot of interest in the travel industry and folks that are looking for experience. So don't be afraid to look around a little bit. There's also a lot of websites online where you can actually put in to supply an internship, or people that are looking for internships. Just type in, even to Google, how do I find an intern? And it'll give you organizations and companies that will work in that environment. So it's a great way for you to prepare and not necessarily have to pay a lot of money to get additional resources. So that will be the first thing, because when this bubble comes, it's going to get very busy. There'll be a lot of administrative work, right? So you also want to focus on capturing the resilient traveler subset and any early adopter consumer. So you might think, okay, well, I don't really know who they are. When you're talking to your customers, the first question you should ask is the next bullet, which is, are you going to get the vaccine? Anybody who is working hard to get the vaccine is going to be deemed an early adopter. They're not waiting to see how that's going to impact other people, and they're the ones that are most likely to trial things first and get out of the house and travel first. So that'll give you a good metric as to where those folks are setting. The next item here is about exploring psychographics to provide feeling recommendations. And this one is something that I think is really important because it really touches on why people travel. So just some examples underneath this bullet point are, rather than asking people where they want to go, ask them why they want to go. What is the particular image that they have in their mind? Is there something specific that they're interested in because they want to learn more about cooking or food or something along that line? Or the flip side might just be, I want to see certain family members that I haven't been able to see in a long time, which gives you the ability to offer up destinations that maybe a customer has never tried before, right? So there's a lot of different components. It's always good, just keep asking why to get an understanding, because there's a lot of exploring that has been taking place and people are going to be looking to break out of what they have done traditionally in the past. The next thing to get comfortable with technology. What we're doing here today, there isn't any reason why you can't set up video calls with your customers. Get them as excited as you are. Have some YouTube videos or some destination videos or some AM Resorts B-roll footage, which is on our website, that you can watch with them together. Learn the technology just to be able to click on the website and look at things together so you're traveling with them, even though you're doing armchair travels. That will really get them excited about the opportunities that are available for them for the future. And you get to be part of that rather than them doing the research on their own and then coming back to you to ask for advice. You can hold hands with your customers in that way.
I love that, like a once a week or a once a month, just a Zoom party or whatever it looks like, you know, a pop-up, anything like that.
Yep, absolutely. Absolutely. And there's a lot of resources out there also too. You guys don't have to go and find that stuff yourself. Change your timing, approach, and scope to marketing. You know, just like what Bill was saying before, you know, that statistic about 10 p.m. and what people are shopping for and what they're looking for. You know, those things are really, really interesting and exciting. And also watch what's coming out on TV. What new programs are there? What's hot on Netflix? What's hot on Amazon? Where are these new shows staged and taking place that could create interest for people to say, wow, that's really beautiful. I want to go wherever it is, because people are doing research on these shows. You know, they're very, very closely aligning with a lot of the characters that they're seeing in these shows. And there's a strange kind of personal relationship that is built when you're binge watching somebody for days on end, right? So there's some opportunity there as well.
Absolutely. Look what happened with Croatia and Game of Thrones. I mean, the tours that popped up specifically for those fans was incredible.
Yes. Look at Norway from Frozen.
Yep. Yes. Yeah. A whole cruise designed around it. Yeah.
My goal is I want to be Casey from Yellowstone. I'm working on it. I just have to give about 25 years and start to look a little bit better. So I'm working on that.
Go from there, right? It's good to dream about those things, right?
That's right.
And then, you know, and then the other thing again, also too, be inviting in the right way, right? So there's a big difference between kind of feeling like you're trying to sell a package or driving the business rather than being a partner. So here's some suggestions on how you can invite the sales journey with whoever your customer might be, or a referral. So there's a couple of bullet points underneath this also too. Carolyn, if you want to just click through them all, I'll walk through them. So the first thing is you want to be able to share with them and you want to be part of that journey. Ask them, what is the best way for me to communicate with you, right? Things have changed dramatically, particularly with kids being home for homeschooling. So you might find that in the past where somebody wanted to be texted, now they would prefer to be emailed. Ask them what kind of content do they want? Do they want video links? Do they want pictures? Are they interested in specific offers? I think in the industry, we've had a habit in the past saying, this is the package, this is the price, this is the location. Instead of, again, talking about that dreaming aspect and the why reason that people are looking to travel or to go someplace. So dig into that piece of it because it makes it a lot more personal, and then you're selecting the right type of communication for that customer. And people will tell you, I say it to my staff all the time, if you need something urgent from me, don't email me. I have so much stuff coming in, I'm never going to look at it. If you have something that you really want me to look at, text it to me. And it's no different with you getting an offer or some sort of a vacation concept into their hands.
Good point.
Okay, then for the next one too, encourage your clients to invest in themselves. A lot of people have always thought, well, okay, you know, vacation, it's such a nice thing to do. We have all been home for a long time. We've had a lot on our plates, a lot of worries, a lot of issues with family members and concerns in that. This is something that is really an investment in health, to be able to go away and to stretch our wings a little bit and be in a new environment. So for any customers that you might have that are looking at it more of an expenditure, I think it's good to advise them to look at it as an investment of being in a new environment and a new place that will help them kind of hit a reset button based on all of the things that we've experienced over the last 9 months. And then the last item here, don't be afraid to ask for more. One of the things that I learned being on both sides of the equation, being a tour operator and being a hotelier, was that many times customers don't even know what the options are that are available to them. They haven't even thought about those options. So there's a couple of things underneath this one as well too. And one of the ones that I had mentioned before too is add guests. Right, go back to them again. Is there anybody else that you'd like to invite on this trip? Anybody that you hadn't thought of? The other component too, the package add-ons, right? I was mentioning before for girlfriends, getaways, and things like that. But there are also things like romantic dinners that can be booked with hotel companies advance, also commissionable. And the thing is, we're not selling an extra component the way that a car salesman would be, well, like a safety package or what have you. What we're doing is we're enhancing the experience, because 9 times out of 10, the customer didn't even know it was an option. And they would say, if I would have known that, I would have booked that. Because it would have enhanced my experience, right? So it's another thing when it's booked in advance for them to get really excited about. You know, we have that romantic dinner on the beach. We have that sightseeing tour, those things to look forward to. And then the other component too is one of the things that has never ceased to amaze me is that customers don't know that sometimes not only the next room category up, but 2 categories up is as little as $10 to $20 extra per person per day. And when you go in and you look at the room descriptions and you say, well, not only do you have a private jacuzzi on the balcony, you also now have a small living space and you have X amount additional square footage. For $20 a day, it's a no-brainer, but they don't know because we don't present it to them. And many of them will make the decision to do that because they want the extra space or what have you, particularly with families. This is something I really, really like to suggest, is looking at square footage, because if you have a family of 4, 2 adults and 2 kids, and the luggage associated to that, now they don't have enough room even to be able to move freely in their own space. On a rainy day, that is just no fun at all. So having that extra space makes it a little bit more convenient, and they'll have a better experience and they'll be happier with your recommendation as well. And then lastly, as I had mentioned earlier too, ask them what else they're planning, not only for the rest of 21, but also for 22. You know, what's been on your bucket list? What have you been dreaming about? I'm going to start looking for things for you in advance now so you can start planning for it, and ask them to start giving you dates. Don't be satisfied with one. If anybody, out there is like the folks that I see around me and the folks that I know in the business, during this whole time at home, they have a list in their phone of places they want to go. They just need somebody to help them figure out when, how, and the logistics. And if you're willing to do that work for them, it's so much easier than them going on Google and getting 18 million responses to where to go in Cancun. As an example, you could do the footwork for them, and then you're helping to solidify landing these dreams that they now have the time and they have the money for.
I love that.
That's why I'm optimistic.
2 to 3 sets of dates for the future. That's fantastic.
For sure, for sure.
Well, and I feel like the big takeaway from me is this whole presentation, it's not necessarily about the destination. It's
Right.
about communicating and offering. And so if you are worried about destinations right now, find destinations you're not worried about, pick those favorite hotels and offer those. We've talked about that before, right? Since in the last 10 months, it's too hard to know every single product and how they're handling it. Pick a few and offer those choices. Bill, I know that's one of your big takeaways from the last 10 months.
Absolutely. Yes, definitely. You want to be the qualifier for that and make sure that you're offering them exactly what you feel is best for them.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And just as an example, as you partner with companies that you feel have your best interest in mind, one of the things that you will see coming out from AM Resorts and our announcements regarding protocols is that we will be relaunching the program we launched last year, which is the Move the Date, Keep Rate +1, which allows a passenger who has an existing reservation to move their reservation, have the rate protected, gain an additional free night, and the agent commission is protected. So that's a way that we're working to help you guys keep business on the books. So when somebody's calling you today saying, what should I do? If it's an AM Resorts booking, you can say, I can assist you in moving it if you wish to do that, or we can wait and see what things look like in the next few days. But the goal is to keep the business on the books and to avoid cancellations in that regard, right?
That's huge.
Awesome. Thank you. We can't thank you enough for being
so happy
here.
To be here. Thank you so much. I really appreciate everyone attending the presentation today.
When I saw you up on stage just about a month ago, and I thought, oh my gosh, what can I do to get Colette to speak to our agents? She's going to be a big hit. They're going to love what she has to say. And like Carolyn says, we just cannot thank you enough for being with us.
A pleasure. Absolutely. Thank you for all your support of AM Resorts.
Absolutely. So much great information to digest. Thank you, Colette, for being here. Bill's going to stay on with me for our next segment, which of course is the breaking news of the CDC requirement for all air passengers entering the U.S. And, like Colette said, we kind of came into this program today feeling a little deflated. I don't know about you, Bill. It was like, okay, we're going to do this. And to be honest, after Colette's presentation, I actually feel a little elated. Like I feel like I've got something to work with.
I do too. I think the first thing that I always think about is, our hearts are going out to the agents, and the agents are depressed and they're getting upset. And it's like, oh my gosh, what can we do to make them feel a little bit better right now? So I think we got to that point, and then agents started to do their own research. We saw a lot of things. The order is out there. We all have our copies of it. But the first thing that I did was I texted Debbie and I says, keep making the spaghetti, but I'm also picking up a pizza. I was just like, Carolyn, I got home and I am shoving pizza in my mouth like it was going out of style. Like, what's wrong? Little Caesars has like the $7 pizza that's absolutely amazing, or I don't know, it's probably terrible, but it tasted good last night. And then I saw agents saying that they were eating and drinking, and I saw one agent with all of her candy that she had bought in front of her. Oh my gosh, I just about died. So,
it's those moments that I'm so grateful that you all because it gives a sense of camaraderie and community, which is exactly the purpose of this show. And it truly shows that, that we're all in this together and we're all going to handle it in different ways. But I think my big thing last night was, I tried not to snip at my children. I don't think I was all that successful at that. But I printed off the order and I sat with my highlighter, like a good teacher, and I read through every single piece. And I kind of became methodical instead of emotional with the information.
Yes.
So I think today what I would like to share with all of you or suggest to you is to take that deep breath. And the first thing you should do is read the order in full. Don't read the snippets. Don't read just the FAQs. Read it all in full and then read the FAQs because it does help. There were a couple of things that really stuck out to me. And so I'm going to share these with you. You may agree or disagree, but these are the things that I highlighted and said to myself, I need more information on this in order to feel good about selling it or keeping things on the books right now. So my first thing was the 3 days prior, the test 3 days prior before you get on that flight back to the US. We've seen all sorts of postings today from different tour operators, from destination management companies like Lomas, and from hoteliers saying, we're going to test you. We've got these facilities. Some are doing it for free for a limited time. Others are charging, and to me, it's quite expensive. I'm not concerned about the testing. It seems like someone's already starting to figure it out. To me, it's the result piece. How do you get those results? And what happens if that result is positive? We'll get to that in a second. Documentation of recovery was also a thing that stuck out to me, meaning that if you've had COVID in the last 3 months, you're not supposed to take another test. You can provide documentation from your health professional that says you're good to go. So that was another piece that stuck out. And then what do we do if there is a positive test? Who bears the cost is the cost of it? Where do you isolate, and does insurance cover it? So I will say I reached out to Travel Insured late last night. Dan did get back to me. I have to read in more detail what his email says and look at the Travel Insured policy. I also dug deep into FunJet's All-in-One, which is hosted by TripMate. Looks like there's some opportunity there, but it's still a little vague for me. So I need to dig deeper. And please notice the word I'm saying. I need to dig deeper. For my comfort level and for my clients, I have to look at the information, pull out the pieces that to me are vague, and then make some phone calls to see if I can find out what the true answers are. And then finally, that this is all passengers. Doesn't matter if you've had the vaccine, it's everyone that needs to be tested. So those are the pieces that jumped out at me. Bill, was there anything else that you felt I need to do more research on this before I can make a comment or even a suggestion to my client?
It's interesting that we highlighted similar things, so that was really, really cool. But I think that I learned about isolation versus quarantine. That was a key element for me in that. I love the Q&A portion on the CDC site. I've been keeping that on my screen so I can go through it today and cut and paste for agents. And I agree with you that that is imperative that we look at that as agents and understand what it is. I am concerned about what the results are and what that looks like. FYI, I have spoke to Eben and Bob at ASTA, and they're looking into that for us as well. We know that it is only international destinations that are requiring this, not the U.S. domestic ones that are USVI and Puerto Rico, so that's a good thing. But I think that once we get more information and we're going to go live, I think, Carolyn, we were talking about having more of an open live discussion with these facts on Friday. Chantal and I, or whoever's going to join me, I think it's going to be good that we deliver more of that information. But I liked that Colette said she's more optimistic today than she was yesterday. And that hopefully, I guess we were thinking, to be honest with you, I'm like, how could they be so stupid? How could they be idiots? They're not prepared for us to do this. They don't understand what's going to happen to us down there. And I guess with the fact that they've been doing it with Canada, they've been doing it for a week now. And then I was starting to look at what Ireland's requiring and other countries are requiring. I think that we're going to be okay. I think it's just that initial shock to us and the fact that we've already had requests for cancellations. We had customers book Breathless Resort yesterday and they want to cancel today. It's like this idea that says, let's take a deep breath, take a step back, like you say, Carolyn. I think we should send them as much information, let them know that we're checking these things out, but we've got to give them that, again, that confidence level, because it's not like it was last year. Last year was, we're not traveling, we can't travel, right? Now it's at least you can travel, but you need to have this information with you coming back. So I agree with you.
Absolutely.
Let's get more information on it.
Yeah. So you guys, last week our big word was pivot. And so I put together a pivot for you today that hopefully will help you tackle give you a plan of attack when it comes to your client. So the first thing for P is plan. Plan how to address this with your clients. I know last night, the first thing I did was pulled all my files. Yes, I use paper files. Des is cringing right now. And I reached out to everyone that I knew was traveling internationally. Most of them were going to Mexico in the next few months. And I just said to them, I'm on top of this. I'm finding out what this means. Yes, I was watching the news. I know that this could be a problem. Sit tight. And do you know, this morning I woke up to all those emails saying, thank you very much for being on top of it, right? There's nothing worse than the client calling you and telling you there's a pause in sailing, or what should we do about the hurricane that's coming and you haven't looked at the weather in 3 days. So this, to me, was a way to address my clients and be upfront with them, not panic them, just address the situation and let them know that I was digging for more information. The next thing is initiate the conversation with the client. What do they want to do? What is their initial reaction? What should we be doing about this? Voice the options. I want to be very clear here, because I think ALG this morning put out their note saying, as of right now, our terms and conditions and our policies remain the same. So I would not presume that just because a client is booked and they didn't know that this was an option, this was going to be something that they were going to be required to do, I wouldn't presume that they can cancel their trip without penalty. Find out what those policies are, look at the travel protection. the policy from the time that they purchased it, because there are different options right now, and understand those clearly, so that you can voice those options to your client. And then we're going to organize how best to reach out to our clients and tackle this change. And like Virginia said last week, feel the fear and do it anyways. We will get through this. We can get through this. We just have to take a deep breath and take a moment to really to let everyone figure out how this is going to be, what the plan of attack is here. I feel like they threw this out there, and like, I want a part B. Like, where's the sequel to the document that tells me how this is all supposed to work,
Yes.
what the consequences are? But this doesn't seem unusual, right? We usually get these notices, and then it's, how are we going to address all the concerns? So that's my pivot. I want to see this as an opportunity to be that kind of travel advisor for my clients, the one that's on top of the news, the one that's working for them. And to be honest, I also see this as an opportunity for domestic destinations. I plan on spending the weekend really looking, like Bill suggests, pull those destinations, those favorite hotels that you like to go to, and start tackling those for spring break if you've got clients that are looking for an alternative destination. Don't just let it go by the wayside. Offer something else.
Yes.
That's the best I can say.
That is awesome, Carolyn. I love your pivot. And I just want to repeat that the USVI in Puerto Rico are not requiring the test upon return. That is currently what's happening right now.
Yep. So we do want to make sure that you're all putting your questions in. We know you have questions. We're not going to answer them today on KHM today, but we want to make sure that we capture them so we can look through them and address as many as possible on Facebook Live on Friday. So we'll continue to monitor the situation, and we hope that all of you continue to do your own research, post the things that you're finding from valid sources, and develop a plan of action for your clients and for yourself, so that you're not making yourself crazy, you're not jumping through hoops. And please be sure to tune in Friday for Facebook Live with Bill. So thanks, Bill.
Thank you very much, Carolyn, for having me. I look forward to your next two guests being on today.
Yes, so we know that we are long on time, but that's okay, because these two tech experts are amazing. It's time for Amanda Bailey with Market Smart.
Hi there. Hi, Carolyn. Thank you so much for having me on. This is, I'm very honored to be on the second episode of KHM today. And to be doing the first Market Smart segment. So I think this is going to be a regular segment, just really quick marketing tips from our team. And by request, our first marketing, I'm Amanda from our marketing team, in case anyone doesn't know, but so our first marketing tip was by request, and I think this is a really important thing, even though I'm sure many of you already know where to find our monthly marketing materials. I think just taking the time to review it and get everyone set up for the year, so they know where to go to access all of these wonderful things that our team puts together. So I'm going to share my screen now. That's a cue for Des. Cool. All right, so we are in here in the portal, and the monthly marketing calendar pages, which there are 3 of, you can find in the marketing section here. So you'll see the marketing calendar by month, general, by month land, and then by month cruise. So depending on your strategy, depending on what your clients are looking to book, you might want to maybe focus more on land or cruise. I'm just going to go into the general page right now to show you what that looks like, and the other 2 pages have a very similar layout and feel. So yeah, so this is where you would go for general. This is just kind of the catch-all where we, there's a couple quick talking points at the top of the page just to talk about what's going on in January and things that are going to be on consumers' minds, which Colette just did a really great job preparing you for that even more in depth. So that's great. We're going to have a link to our social share graphics library. We will have, our goal is to get 2 social share videos up each month for you to share. And then we also have the latest waves, a link to the latest waves template in the CRM, and more information on how you can set up a campaign if you haven't done it before. And then some relevant and, kind of supplier promotions that tie into what's going on that month and the whole theme. So this year, all of our consumer-facing marketing campaigns are based around the idea of escape the ordinary, which I think Colette kind of touched on in her own way, and the idea of give me liberty, just get me out of here. I don't want to stare at my small screen anymore. I was laughing about that because just yesterday I had the notification up on my phone that tells you how many hours, like once you reach a certain number of hours on your phone, it's like, hey, you've been staring at your phone too long. And I just realized yesterday, I was like, I'm gonna get rid of this, because if I'm not looking at the tiny screen on my phone, I'm looking at my laptop, or I'm watching Netflix. It's like, what does it matter what screen I'm looking at? So anyway, I just want to go into the social share graphics library to show you guys what that looks like too, because this is brand new. We compiled all of the amazing graphics our design team puts together, of which there are, you can see, many, 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 many. The newest ones will be up here at the top. So next month it'll say new for February 2021, and they'll be, all based around this idea of escape the ordinary. I love these colors this year. They're so fun and bright and make me want to go places. And then you can also see we've divided them all up by type of travel and or destination. So for instance, if you click on US destination, you'll be taken down to a section where the images and the vibe is, US domestic travel. So yeah, I think that's pretty much it. I know there's a handout that is going into more details about how you can share the graphics specifically, and how you can like share the videos either through YouTube or if you want to download them. But I hope this gives you guys some tools to go out and take a lot of the information that Colette just talked about and use it on social media and in your emails and elsewhere. So yeah, I think that's it. And I guess I'll just end by saying, we're the marketing@khmtravel.com email address is always available to you guys. We want to hear your feedback. We want to know whether you're like, these graphics are great, or these graphics totally suck and I don't understand them at all. Why don't we have these kinds of graphics? We're happy to hear that kind of feedback or comments, questions, any of that stuff about using the content in the monthly marketing pages. So go out and share.
Thanks, Amanda, for being here. And there are so many great resources available, and it's important that you all know where to find them. So do you ever get frustrated with technology? I know I do. I get crazy angry. And Paris is our in-house expert at KHM, and he's here to give us our tech tip this week. Paris, welcome. And he's
hey, everybody.
in the home office.
Hi, everybody. How you doing? Thank you for having me. This is our first tech tips, and we're going to jump right into it. I have documentation and the go-to webinar for handouts for the tech meeting. Oh, no. I disappeared. Okay, there we go. Hi, everybody. Tech tip handouts is in the go-to meeting, and you can look on the KHM Today portal page. I'm going to share my screen and show you how to do a quick tech tip. And it is loading. All right. So what you want to do, you want to go to the start menu. There's two ways to do it. You can open up the start menu. I have mine bookmarked. Or what you can do is a quick tip is type in here, snippet, and you see the snipping tool. You go ahead and click on that. Snippet tool come up. And Carolyn, you want to pose for me so I can take a quick snippet? 3, 2, 1. And then you want to just drag it across and have a good one. I promise we look better in person. But that's a quick tech tip on how to do it. And you can click save and it'll go. Thank you for having me.
Awesome. Paris, thanks so much. And you guys, this is a great tool to use if you're trying to do a price match and you need to do a quick screen print or capture that quote that you're seeing for a better price on another travel site. So that's why we wanted to bring that to you today. Episode 2 is almost in the books, but before we go, it's time to cook. I saw agents posting pictures of snowfall this last week, particularly in the South, which was just crazy. So I thought we all needed something warm and just a little bit comforting. So please enjoy this creamy tomato soup from Ree Drummond, one of my favorite cooks from the Food Network. As always, you can submit recipes if you would love to have them featured for both food and beverages. We'll take those too. They can be submitted to educationtravel.com. And as we try to end the show here with a click, handouts for this week. That we got such great feedback last week for people who love those handouts right from the GoToMeeting section. So they are available in the handout section if you are live. If you are not live, they are available to you by checking the KHM Today page on the home screen of my travel agent portal. So, you know, agents, we're in this together. We hear you. We are here to support you. And so thanks for joining us this week. We look forward to seeing you all next week, but please make sure you tune in Friday for Bill's Facebook Live. Have a great afternoon, everyone. Take care.